Good evening and welcome to this A1 Welcome to BHASVIC Parents Evening. My name is Mark Monahan and I am the Vice Principal for Digital and Communications. I'm just doing a bit of the intro, but our session this evening will have a welcome from the Principal, an introduction from our Vice Principal for Student Services, our Deputy talking you through curriculum, and I'll come back at the end to talk you through digital and communication. And the idea of this session is to really get you up to speed with how things work here at BHASVIC and how to support your young person. So behind the scenes, we have a team of people ready and waiting to take your questions. So in the description here, you will find that there is a link that will take you to our Slido question and answer session. So you can pop a question in there and one of our team will be able to answer you. And of course, if there's anything that's too sensitive or personal, then feel free just to get in touch with us at the college. So without any further ado, I will hand over to the Principal, Will Baldwin. Will.
Thanks, Mark, and welcome to BHASVIC. Thanks for making the time to fit us into your busy schedules, and I hope you had a good summer. So students have been with us now for almost 2 weeks, and I hope they're settling into their new routines, from travel to timetables to workload and friendship groups. If you joined us for the new Parents Information Evening before the summer, then you would have heard me say that students face two big hurdles, a social one and an academic one. In our experience, students worry most about the social, but actually need more help with the academic. We recognise that it does take time to settle in and bridge the gap between GCSEs and A-level. We provide lots of support inside and outside the classroom for that, more of which you will hear about tonight. Your young person will not be with us for long. This is a period of transition and they will leave BHASVIC as adults, and we need to help them prepare for that, including getting them to think quite quickly about what's next after BHASVIC. How to thrive at this level is a test of two things, I think. Firstly, a test of maturity, and secondly, a test of the ability to manipulate knowledge. Both James and Jess will say more about this, but put simply, students need to be organised and manage all the competing demands on their time. They also need to engage with their work in a lot more depth than GCSEs required. We have a learning culture here that students quickly align to, but it's also essential to us that students manage the balance between working hard and having fun and looking after themselves. One key message that we want you to take away is that what makes a BHASVIC student isn't just the qualifications. Although clearly qualifications are essential, we place as much emphasis on personal and social development and want students to make the most of all the opportunities to be part of our thriving community, including all the clubs and societies that we have, which they can find out more about and sign up to at our Freshers Enrichment Fair on Wednesday, the 24th of September. We're a big and busy college, but I hope that students are beginning to find their space as their routines bed in and find their tribe as they meet like-minded people. We do encourage them to make most of all the rooms here during break and lunch times, including classrooms if necessary, particularly when it's been wet like the start of term we have had this year. I really hope that students have a brilliant 2 years with us. We will keep you in contact with how they are progressing. I'm going to hand over to Jess Jung now, who's Vice Principal for Student Services, to talk more about our communication with students and with you.
Thanks, Will. So as Will said, I'm Jessica Young. I'm the Vice Principal for Student Services. And I just wanted to spend a few minutes explaining some of the essential people and services that we have at BHASVIC. At BHASVIC, we are not only here to help and support students to engage with their learning, but also for a whole host of other opportunities and activities so that we can help everyone to thrive. It's really important that our students not only know what's on offer to them, but feel confident enough to take advantage of everything. From the enrichment and opportunities and events to the support, advice and guidance that we provide. I know a lot of you will have come to our new Parents Information Evening in July, but it's worth just offering a few reminders and some updates about what we do in the student support, experience and guidance team and who we are. So I'm going to start by just explaining what we call our community pathway. This includes tutorial at BHASVIC alongside events and enrichment, digital assemblies and student conferences. Our community pathway aims to provide students with a range of academic skills, life skills, wellbeing support and extracurricular and supercurricular opportunities. Tutorial happens once a week with a 45-minute group session in class, plus an additional 45 minutes of guided learning and online or in-person one-to-ones that follow. All tutor sessions will take place in our dedicated Student Services Centre, and the first module is titled My Community, with the aim of helping students to settle, get to know BHASVIC, help them to manage their time, and know when and how to study independently. Your young person's tutor is someone that not only delivers the tutorial programme, but also provides incredible pastoral support. They are a good person for your young person to go and talk to if they're experiencing any difficulties, have questions, or just want to share some of their successes. You'll soon be receiving a short video message from your young person's tutor introducing themselves and just explaining a little bit more about their role. In the second year, students will be able to choose a specialist pathway for their tutorial, linked to their chosen progression route, a sharper focus on university or applying for apprenticeships, going into employment, or a visual arts pathway, Oxbridge or medicine. The central aim of tutorial in year 2 is to provide that specialists' tailored support. And as they prepare for their next steps, we will have special information evenings in February and March to give you more information. These evenings will help you to understand the decisions that students need to be making as they're moving forward into their A2 year. Tutors are there to provide additional support and signpost students to where they need to go to get additional help, particularly if they change their mind about what's next, what they might do. If at any point your young person needs career support, we are here for that too. Whatever they need, the tutor will be there to help and guide them. If you need any more information around careers, there's a wealth of information on the dedicated careers and higher education pages on the website, and this includes key dates and deadlines. We will try to keep you up to date of the academic progress of your young person via the parent portal, and hopefully you have received information on how to log in the most recent parent comms. Twice a year, you will be invited to view progress review information, which offers the snapshot of the progress they are making in their subjects. And there will also be an invited parents' carer evening in December, plus further evenings later in the year after they have done their summer exams, which is a midpoint in their studies. So next, a few words about guidance managers. Guidance managers are a really important part of our provision. We deliberately run all of our tutor sessions in the Student Services Centre so students can recognise this as a central hub for support and guidance. Each tutor is line managed by a guidance manager who's a bit like a head of year and oversee all the pastoral casework. Our guidance managers come from a range of different backgrounds and have a wealth of experience, and they liaise with other departments across the college, including additional learning support, safeguarding, the exams department and curriculum departments. So if there are any concerns about any aspect of student behaviour or progress at college, the GMs will be involved. They are here to support students and work out how best to move forward in any given situation. Again, there is more information introducing the team at the bottom of the wellbeing page on our website if you are interested. Currently, they are on a help desk, which is there to support A1 start the beginning of BHASVIC, alongside their heads of faculty. So if your young person has a query about their timetable or subject choices or any aspect of college, they can go to the help desk, which is in the Piazza Cafe at lunchtimes and runs until the 3rd of October. Alternatively, if a student has a query that is not subject or timetabling related, they can also go to the reception desk in Student Services building and can get support there. That is also where they can book an appointment with their guidance manager if they need to. We have a wonderful team of people who manage the Student Services Centre. They are called the Centre Operations Team. The first point of contact on the student services is the reception desk. And if a student needs to make an appointment with our safeguarding team, with our careers team, with counselling, with guidance managers, then the Centre Ops team are there to help. They have a wealth of knowledge on all aspects of life at BHASVIC and the student experience. They can offer financial support. They can offer information about bursaries. And they are running a lunchtime bursary help desk this week, if that is something that your young person might need help with. The Centre Ops team, and I think this is incredibly important, are all mental health first aid trained and can provide on-the-spot help for students who might be feeling anxious about college or other aspects of their life. We appreciate that this is a really important year for your young person. Transitioning from school into college can be quite hard for some students, and change can be difficult. And we know from experience that it can be quite overwhelming at times. So we just want you to know that we are here to help and that there is lots of support on offer. So what about the fun, I hear you cry? Well, Student Services also has a dedicated events and enrichment team. They organise activities throughout the year to help students to make the most of their time and to enjoy life beyond the academic. The next big event, as Will mentioned, is Freshers Fair, which is on Wednesday, the 24th of September. And it's an opportunity for students to get involved in a society, become a mentor, do Duke of Edinburgh, get involved in the student union. The student experience team also oversee many of our careers events. So we have a Futures Fair in January, a Skills Week, which all A1 students will take part in July. And that Skills Week involves a week's worth of work experience. And we ask students to start thinking about and looking for placements from around the end of the autumn term. So that might be something that you could help and support your young person with. We have links with a wide range of local and national employers. We have a vibrant alumni community who regularly come in and talk to students. We also have a special relationship with American Express as a key link employer, and their volunteers are actually coming in to do some workshops with Haiti tutor groups in October. There are also student conferences that will be running throughout the year, and a kind of a development day in March that A1s will also be involved in. Our students receive weekly updates on what's going on around college via a weekly briefing video. So please remind them to check this on a regular basis in the tutorial hub. And you can keep up to date by our parent and carer updates and newsletters, which Mark will tell you more about. As an aside, if you can help us as an employer, or you are alumni, then please have a look at our careers and employer web pages and get in touch. We're really, really looking forward to supporting your young person through the next 2 years. It's important we help our young people to embrace their learning, but also that we support them to find balance and belonging here at BHASVIC. If there is anything we can help with moving forward, then please contact Student Services at basvic.ac.uk. And thanks for your time this evening. And that's it from me. So I'm going to pass you over to James, who's going to talk to you about the curriculum.
Smashing. Thanks very much, Jess. So I'm James Moncrieff, Deputy Principal. I oversee our sort of curriculum offer and the teaching and learning that young person receives at BHASVIC. The main points I want to say are, sorry, Mark, I need you to move forward if that's okay. Thank you. I have top 3 tips for you. And then I just want to mention a little bit about artificial intelligence and that, it's everywhere, isn't it? But that's that element in teaching and learning and what that means there. So top 3 tips. The first one is going to be, I'll talk very briefly about attendance and getting into the lesson. I know educators do obsess about that, but I think it's probably one of the most powerful bits of information I can give you. I'll also talk about study routines and some real core differences between study in secondary school and this transition to college and then indeed university and work. And then the final one is about how your young person can take good advantage. And if they're coming to you and wanting advice, then it's really sort of helpful for you to know those things. So I'll go first into how every lesson counts. And your young person is studying at a much higher level and a deeper level, as Will said. They will, by the time they finish BHASVIC, probably know considerably more than you do in their specialist area. depending on your own experience. But, my son, I'm art background, my son definitely knows a lot more about maths and science than I do, having studied A-levels here. So they really do get into a lot of knowledge. And quite a lot of stuff is covered in every lesson. So it feels to them that they've got less lessons, but each of those lessons really counts. And on the following slide, there's a table which comes from our own sector's research. So you see here, this is about sort of performance really, or achievement, let's say, and the grade difference. And the top line on the right is, a fourth of a grade higher than expected, and down there on the left, two-thirds of a grade lower than expected. And this is in relation to attendance. So if a student is attending all their lessons, they will actually be achieving well above expectation. And if they're missing around about 20% of their lessons, then statistically, they're very, very likely to underperform at this level. So attendance, absolutely critical. Every lesson is really important. The next top tip, study routines. So on the following slide, there's an example of a timetable at BHASVIC, and you'll see that their students will have, by and large, 3 subjects in 3 different blocks. Each of those is coloured, and you'll see that there's quite a lot of space between lessons. This is completely normal, very different from school, but how a student uses that space is really, really important. It can make a massive difference for them. And so on the next slide, you'll see suggestions. For example, these sort of paler colours is when they might study that subject independently. And around about half the work that a student does, or the time that a student spends on one of their courses, half of it's in lesson, but there's a good half of that amount of time as well outside of the lesson. That might be slightly more or slightly less over the rhythm of the year and over the course, but it's a really kind of special feature of studying at this level, preparing for university, further education, and even work, where they're not sort of monitored all the time. So helping a young person think about and plan their study routines, including when they're at college but not in a lesson, can be incredibly powerful. And the sooner a student gets into the groove of that and is using their free time really wisely for their independent study, then they will just feel on top of things, more confident, and they will learn much more effectively. So the final tip I have is to take advantage. And as Jess explained quite a lot there is a lot of support. And in curriculum, this does include, first port of call, of course, their teacher. And we do find sometimes a student is a little bit nervous about contacting their teacher. Our teachers are very friendly, very supportive, and they are the experts. So it's always really good to kind of speak up, get help early. If there's anything they didn't understand or they're struggling, they can do that in a Teams chat, speak to the teacher at the end of the lesson. But that's the very, very good first port of call. We do also have things which we call subject extensions. They're special in that a student can drop into one of those. It's not a lesson. It is a room with a teacher in that subject there to help students with their learning. And obviously those teachers will know what's going on in the courses at that point in time, the topics, the schemes of work, the tasks, the homework that's set, and can help. And indeed, some of our courses, there are second year students who have been through it all. They know, they're really keen to help. And that can be really powerful as well, getting help from their peers, from students who've been there and done that. So subject extensions, really, really, really good place to go as well. And then finally, we have, because at sixth form, this is all we do. Our teachers are just teaching this level of study. They're not stretched across, 5-6 year groups. And they work in quite large teams mostly. Then they can really craft excellent resources on our learning environment. So if a student isn't finding something easy, there will always be really good quality, really sort of well-planned for them resources on our virtual learning environment in our course SharePoints. So that's the sort of third really good place just to check that your young person is accessing that support. I did want to just make one little point about artificial intelligence. and we're working at pace, as is everyone, with adapting to this new tool. And this illustration shows, the sort of the robot or the artificial intelligence really kind of sucking the life and the color out of the human being. And young people might be confused about what a great tool. It's kind of doing the work, but our phrase is really the one doing the thinking is the one doing the learning. So artificial intelligence really, when you're learning rather than getting work done, should be used to help you learn as effectively as possible. It can do some of the simpler tasks to enable you to do the better tasks, but it's really about the tasks that to be done are to help someone learn. So it's not saving time. You still need to study the same amount of time, but it can just get laborious kind of donkey work, if you like, sorted. So we're working with our students to really understand that and how to make use of artificial intelligence for their learning, instead of just getting work done and not learning. Thanks. I think I'm handing over to Mark now.
You are indeed. Thank you very much, James. It's great. So I'm just going to give you a bit of a quick run through on some of the kind of communication and kind of digital learning platforms of the college, so that you just kind of all understand, firstly, how we'll communicate with you, how we'll communicate with your young person, and also just so you understand so you can support them day to day in their learning. So I'll just talk through a little bit more about AI, a bit about our parental communication, a bit more detail on our parent portal, the kind of digital induction that students have, a quick headline on bring your own device, and then a little bit of a look at some of the digital learning resources students have access to. So just to follow on from what James said about AI, Microsoft has just announced over the summer that they're now rolling out Microsoft Copilot as their AI tool that is now enabled for students over the age of 13. So that's being tested across the world with lots of different student groups to ensure that it is kind of safe, and basically means that as part of the Microsoft license that we provide for students, they get free access to this. It runs ChatGPT in the background, so it means that you're getting free access to ChatGPT provided by the college, and it also means that when students are signed into their BHASVIC account, all their data is protected, and they're within a kind of confined, protected space, so that none of that data leaks out and none of that information that goes into the chat is used to train a model and is not read by anyone at Microsoft. So it's a good way of having a protected, safe space that we can control and monitor and supervise for the students, so that they can start to explore with their teachers how to use AI effectively in their learning. So next bit, let's have a talk about the kind of way that we keep you updated. You have had for a few years a teenager, and they're at different levels of communicating with you about what's going on in their lives, what's going on at college. So we actually have a parent and carer section on our website, which has a lot of quick links to really useful information. But there's just 3 that I'll just kind of touch on now, which are our calendars, our parental communications, and also our parent portal, so that we just information that you can get access to quite quickly. So one of them is our parental communication. So every fortnight, we actually send out to all parents and carers a kind of digest of what's going on in the college, what's coming up, some news about what might have, some events that have happened. And we also then store those in our parents and carers website section under communication. So if you can't find them trawling back through your email, they're also there by date on the website. So at any point you can come back and have a look. And you can see just here on the screen also, that paragraph starts with what says BHASVIC calendar. So there's actually also a BHASVIC calendar which gives you information about what's going on. So this is an example here of what a parent and carer communications would look like. So some key dates and information that's extracted out of the calendar. So the things that are coming up imminently, but the actual calendar itself that you can find through the parents and carer section then has more detail that you can flick through and know what's coming up in the coming months and weeks. And that's just really helpful. And some people quite like having a kind of copy of that, like this, that we can actually print out and stick on the fridge, kind of old style. So rather than having to come back to a digital version, we've compiled for you all the key dates and events across the year, so that you've just got them at the ready, easy to kind of glance at, and sometimes remind your young person about what's going on in their life. And then there's other helpful information on our website. We've got lots of information about the processes for exams, how results are released, the kind of exam services we have, and the help and support that's in place. And then that kind of takes us onto then the parent portal. So we have as our kind of college student database a tool called CEDAR. So teachers use it every day for their kind of marking registers and putting marks and grades in there. Your young person will also access it for things like logging various kind of plans that they might have, future plans. They might be reflecting on their progress reviews, but also as a parent, you can also sign into this. So you'll be receiving in one of the parental communications some information about how to sign into this, and it'll let you just see what your young person's timetable is, how to get in touch with us. You can see there, email the tutor. It might have information about their attendance, so you can keep an eye on that. And then really helpful as well, this is also the place that you can go to where you can log your young person's absence. So instead of trying to get on the phone and leave a message, you can come into this parent portal and just notify us of an absence, and that will then come through to our student services team and to making sure that our registers are up to date with that information. And then this is more to kind of let you know the information that we give to students. So at the moment, students will have been doing lots of the starting with confidence work, which is about getting to grips with their new subjects and courses and sort of finding out about, what kind of things their courses will include. But we also have a digital induction, which is on our YouTube channel, and students have been sent a link to this. And it just covers all the information about the kind of digital platforms that we use for their learning across their 2 years at the college. So there's a kind of short 15-minute video that they get to watch, but it is hosted on our YouTube channel. If you want to get more detail about those tools, you can have a look at that with your young person as well. But I will talk you through just some of the headlines on the tools that we use. But the YouTube channel is really a place where we try and host as much information as we can. So there might be digital assemblies, live events like this, and other events throughout the year that can be for parents, carers, and also students. So as a college, in the modern day, we have a policy that we ask students to bring their own device. So that means bring some kind of laptop, and it can be from a really affordable Chromebook. Some students have insanely expensive MacBooks, but just a device that's suitable for the day-to-day kind of work of email and word processing is sufficient. But we really just want to emphasize that a mobile phone isn't really a suitable device for kind of day-to-day working. So something with a keyboard is what we really kind of promote and encourage. We do have short-term loans for laptops. So there are 2 lockers in both the Copper Cafe and the Piazza Cafe where students can kind of tap their card, and then they can actually loan a laptop for an hour or 2. And it's usually just in an occasion where maybe their own laptop has gone flat, or they've misplaced it, or they've left it at home. We do have available for students entitled to bursary. We do also have some devices that they can borrow for a longer period of time. So if that's of interest to you or your young person, then you can get in touch with their tutor or student services. So just to kind of, lots of young people will have come from a secondary school environment where it was all Google. Not many are really kind of Microsoft institutions. So we're kind of Microsoft through and through. And some of you may even use Microsoft Teams for your work. But we actually use this as a kind of academic tool. So all their courses and classes are hosted on there. That allows them to communicate together with their teachers, and they're bundled together in their kind of class groups. And inside that means that they also get sent assignments. So Teams becomes the one-stop shop for knowing what work and assignments a student has been set across all their courses across the college. And then that links into SharePoint. So SharePoint is basically a fancy file storage repository, but every course area has a kind of visual front page across the whole college, which is consistent so that students can find learning resources for their subjects. So here's an example. This is sociology, and you can see it's broken down into different units. And then students just come through here and browse through and find the learning resources, like James mentioned before, in a very easy to navigate kind of way. And then following on from that, our tutorial program, which we feel is as important as the rest of the courses and classes, there's also a tutorial hub. And that has information about resources that might be useful for a young person at that time. So it could be how to log Skills Week on Cedar. You can see here how to get information for Skills Week. But then really importantly, we made an evolution on this year. There's now a tab at the top. You can see what you need to know this week. And basically, a young person can open this up and there will be current events and information about what's going on now and coming up next. So this is some placeholder things, but you can see there's some news items that have popped up here. There's a to-do there. There might be a video from one of the recent digital assemblies. And then following down from the bottom, you can see there's some events listed there, resources from the tutor session, and even the term dates. And that's kind of current and live. So there's lots of different channels and platforms that young people can use to access information. But we were working to make sure that all the kind of campus information across the college is hosted here in one place. So if a young person doesn't know when an event is happening, then this tutorial hub becomes the one-stop shop. It's pretty much like an old school notice board on a wall, but we've kind of got a digital version of that. And your young person's tutor will reference and kind of point this out quite regularly in that tutor time session. And so I mentioned before that students have access to Cedar and they can log a whole manner of things. And then they've also got access on the right to an app called My BHASVIC, which gives them quick access to their calendars, email, news, but also easily launches them out to things like SharePoint and Cedar as well. So they've all been encouraged to download and add that onto their phone. And periodically, they may also receive notifications for specific things across the college. So that's pretty much for all of what we're going to cover this evening. Our team will still be here behind the scenes answering your questions. We'll be here for probably another 10 minutes or so. So feel free to just continue to ask those questions. But if there's anything that you don't want to post on those public questions and you feel is more kind of personal to you and your young person, then feel free to get in touch with us and either via your young person's tutor or us at Student Services. Otherwise, thank you very much for joining us this evening, and we hope it's a great year for you and your young person. Thank you very much.